said, show me the way. Well, show me the way home. Just a man, so wonderful. Thought this world could offer so much more.
Right. Hello, humans. Welcome back to the Slackline full broadcast.
Welcome.
Weekend Sunday broadcast. We are here with JWoww
Wow.
and the boss.
The boss is coming.
That's a made-up dumb fairy tale name, you.
And we are Sans guest today. There is no guest.
Well, yeah.
We might have a couple calls maybe from Bernie or Ernie, or we'll see. We'll seek out our fake callers in lieu of our real guests.
Nice.
But we thought JWoww and I would have just a one-on-one powwow. We've never actually done that in the short history of the Slackline.
yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
And, today we have is our Slackline brew version.
Yes, the brewery version. Nice. We got Pabst Blue Ribbon unofficially sponsoring us today.
Thanks, Paps. We just had to pay for it.
Right. And they will make sure that the conversation gets more interesting as the cast goes along.
Especially if you're drinking.
Yes, that was the joke.
That's the joke.
Yeah, so it's actually how the Slackline was born, right?
Yeah.
JWoww and I sitting on a couch waiting for some shit to happen and having a good chat and laughing a lot and thinking we should be recording this.
Sure.
I guess that's how it's working out so far. How do you think it's working out so far?
Yeah, I'm having a blessing.
We were talking about a little bit about dating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a common subject here.
It's true. I mean, it's a common subject with everybody. We all want sex.
Yeah.
That's just...
Yeah, but not only sex. We always I think a lot
We all
of
want-
times you said that we just want sex,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually are seeking for a bit more than it.
It's true. I definitely do. Like, I can't just like really hook up and have sex. Well, I can obviously, but I don't know. I obviously enjoy it a lot more when I have a personal connection with people.
Yeah.
But I find that being harder and harder, I don't know, to really nail down, because I don't know if there's just like stuff like Tinder opens up so many like options or something like that for people that people are so quick to kind of move on or maybe not give each other the respect that we used to have, or maybe ghosting was always a thing, you know?
Ghosting, I think, is the worst option ever.
Yeah, but it's probably the most common option taken in my most recent experience. Thing is like when Tinder and this whole kind of dating shift happened, which was really fast. Like it was like a year and a half.
Yeah.
And everybody was on Tinder, you know?
Yeah.
When this happened, it was like 5 years ago. Maybe a bit more, but like I was in a relationship with a girl at the time, so I didn't participate in Tinder until it became like a full-fledged, cultural phenomenon that it is now, and has actually like embedded itself in our psyche as far as how we date, just the whole concept of interchangeable partners kind of has really taken over.
Do you think that this happened here? Because it's interesting that you say that, because this kind of dating protocol already existed back in Brazil, where I'm from. And we used to have this thing that we would say, oh, are you guys boyfriend and girlfriend? Oh, no, we're just the term for it translating is like I'm staying with this person.
Oh.
But you could be staying with several persons at the same
Mhm.
time, and if you say that you're staying with one, it doesn't mean that you are with this
Okay.
person. But this came like way before Tinder. So like when Tinder came along, it was just, I don't know, for us it was just like a matter of putting into an app what we were already doing it.
Yeah, no, I like for sure. Like obviously, one night stands and these types of friends with benefits type relationships existed before. I mean more like the idea of setting up, dates with people outside like Tinder or not, just however you end up meeting somebody and then like just, going out with them a few times and then just not,
Yeah.
and just like stop talking to them.
Yeah. There's
That is something like I don't know. I didn't necessarily. Well, I did date obviously before Tinder, and I don't remember that ever really happening all that much.
there's a philosopher assessing this our relationships on, well, that's several of them, but the vision that I think is accurate is the of a guy called Zygmunt Bauman.
Okay.
And this guy come up with the theory of the fluid modernity or something like that. I don't know the title in English. I know in Portuguese, of course. I was reading in Portuguese, but it's assessing really like what we are doing right now. We are just moving from one relationship to another, and whenever things get a little bit hard
Uncomfortable
or
yeah.
uncomfortable, we just go to the next thing.
Yeah.
And now just getting a hook out of that and like just assessing how we deal with our stuff, like computers and phones and everything. We don't fix anything anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
We just throw it in the trash
Yeah.
and get a new one.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe what we are doing in relationships right now, most of the times or a lot of the times, is just like if you bought something that has like a defect or you just throw the relationship
It's like
into
the
the
lemon
trash.
law.
Yeah, and start a new one. But the problem with that, in my opinion, is that you never pass a point.
Yeah.
You never actually go over your insecurities, or you never go over your.
I don't think you learn to trust people at all.
That's
you know?
the thing.
Like
Whatever, man. If she doesn't want to do this, I just like get another girlfriend. Another person or whatever.
yeah.
And
Well, I think as men we try to portray that as like something that we want. But I don't like that. Like I don't like feeling ambiguous about relationships with people and like not really sure where you stand with people and stuff. Like it's frustrating more than anything. And we kind of call like you can call it like open relationships or something like that, but unless you're actually like discussing the parameters of what that means, then it's not an open relationship. It's just non-communication,
yeah, you just don't say anything, and you just start something from the beginning, from the scratch.
Yeah.
You don't deal with the problems anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You don't fix them.
Mm-hmm.
You buy new ones.
Hmm.
Well, you're not buying sex in this case.
Yeah, but you think that maybe if this person has like this one little thing or even like I mean, it's not even about a person that might not pique your interest anymore, but as much as another person grabbing your interest now, but like the fact is that you still have to deal with the person that you were with before.
No. So what you're saying is that what if you are with someone and then someone else grabs your attention?
Not even necessarily with someone. Just like well, like what we're talking about, these types of relationships that are staying with people. You
Yeah.
know, if you don't want to stay with that person anymore,
Yeah.
like at all,
Mm.
you know, not just for tonight or whatever, but like at all,
Yeah.
or you are quote unquote staying with this person for the time being. I don't know how long, something like, you know, a couple weeks or something like that,
Okay.
and somebody else catches your interest, or even you want to move from a staying with somebody relationship to like a, you know, a real foundational relationship with somebody else.
Yeah.
You can't just like leave those staying relationships floating. You know, you can't just like exit them and then pick up a relationship with somebody. Because not
why you're
only
saying
that-
you can't, like, that's exactly what we are doing most of
I
the
know.
times.
But like, well, no, but like, you have to break that. You
In
have
order
to
to what?
in order to fully give yourself to somebody else, for one thing.
Oh yeah, but then you wouldn't be staying with other people, right? You wouldn't be making out with other people. Then that's what they call dating, no?
Right, that's what I'm saying, is like if you're wanting to move into that sort of thing. What I'm saying is like if you don't want to stay with somebody for like anymore, whatever that means, you have to break that. Right? Like you have to tell them that it's broken. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because these staying relationships, they are ambiguous and they are kind of open-ended, as, you know, at their definition, right?
Yeah.
And so, but like if you have this type of relationship with somebody and you see them, you know, a few times over a couple weeks and then they disappear for months and then maybe come back,
Mm-hmm.
or not even, but
Mhm.
like let's say they do come back, like how do you feel about that?
I
Like
don't
for
know,
me, I'm
man.
like, go fuck yourself. Like you
Well,
just like disappeared.
You see, that's the thing for you, and that's for me why open relationships are so complicated, because there are no you never establish boundaries, and if you do so, it takes you so much discipline
Yeah.
that an open relationship becomes with a lot of rules. So it's actually, you know, if we would call this a relationship, it's actually never open. I remember having this open relationship with one girl once, and like there were rules that were not being said, but
Mhm.
they were there.
Yeah.
So like one of the rules was like, okay, if we go together into a party,
We leave together.
we live together, and we can't be with anyone else,
Mm-hmm.
like in front of each other. So that was like one of the rules,
Mm-hmm.
but that was just one. There were so many rules, and like it's a new set of rules. You know,
Yeah.
like if you are in a relationship, you don't even have to tell those rules anymore. You know, like it's obvious that this is what it is. You know, like you're not gonna make out with someone in front of your girlfriend, because that's, you don't even have to talk about those rules. They are already set for you. You know. So like these open relationships, you just have. There's so much stuff that you have to talk about it, and then you have to figure out, and then you have to start from the zero, and you guys have to agree on it. That is just so fucking boring.
That's
like,
a lot of, yeah,
and
it's
like,
true. You know, like kind of entering into that type of conversation with somebody, and it almost got like clinical in a way, you know, of
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
let's make sure we're doing this, and let's make sure this, and da 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 da. And I actually said, like, I feel like I should be signing like a piece of paper or something, you know, like I don't know. It's, yeah, it kind of took me took the boner down.
Yeah, like like you start as if it's much more uncomplicated, and it's actually, it's, at least for
Yeah.
me, it's much more complicated, because there are a lot of rules that people are not saying. I remember
Mhm.
the same girl was just going out and like, oh no, free love and everything, but whenever she discovered that I was out with someone else, we used to live in different cities,
Mhm.
she would get so jealous, and we would fight. And I was like, "You're being jealous right now."
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, so like, you can you can deny as much as you want, but deep inside, you know that you're jealous, and it's okay.
Yeah. It's
like,
okay. That's the thing, is like it only makes sense that you would rather you would rather that person, a person that, has your attracted interest, you would rather that person want to be with you than anybody else all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so whenever there are those times, whether that's, a night, a week, or like months at a time, that person is not spending that time with you, it's like, well, what is it that you actually enjoy about spending time with me?
Yeah.
Like, what am I? It's weird to think about what I could give that's different, but also not enough to hold somebody's interest in not even just a relationship, but just, again, like, I've had plenty of relationships like that before, and they've never bothered me. But like, I think that there's a you're crossing a threshold. There's a difference between staying with somebody, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Like, we would call that kind of like a friends with benefits situation. Is like, yeah, it's a person that you get along with, that you can call every once in a while and be like, hey, yeah, those relationships exist. But as soon as you come into this quote unquote open relationship, does that not imply like, okay, we are in a pairing? Like, I'm going to potentially like bring you home to mom and dad, but I also want an open relationship. Whereas, like, that entails, different sexual partners and that type of thing throughout the course of potentially our marriage, or like whatever that whole thing is. Yeah, that's a totally different line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're instituting your love for somebody, which is like a totally different scenario versus, I'm sexually attracted to that person.
Yeah, man, the thing is that we all have impulses, but that's not the only rule that can guide us through, like, you can be in a relationship and still be like, you still want to fuck other people, but you're just not doing it, so
Right.
because you are in a relationship.
Exactly. Because you want to maintain trust with somebody that you care about.
Yeah, so like, I think one of the problems today is that our generation, it's set up to be like, we think we are so cool sometimes, and we cannot deal a lot of times with frustration. It's like, whenever you choose to do something, you're gonna, like, life is like that, man. It's gonna be 50% is gonna be good stuff, and 50% is gonna be bad stuff.
Yeah.
But we want everything to be pleasure, everything to not to hurt. So I think we lost or we didn't lost yet, but we are losing the capability of being frustrated. Oh yeah, sure. I am in a relationship. This girl is gorgeous, and she's here, and she almost naked, and she wants to have sex, but I am in a relationship. What am I gonna do? It is frustrating to say no sexually or to your body or whatever, but hey, but that's a commitment that you made,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I honestly, I don't have as tough a time with that as I do with, like, even, okay, here's a beautiful woman in your bed, you've had, you're fun, and then, she goes and spends the day with somebody else, or that doesn't even really bother me all that much either. Again, it all depends on the people. It's just like, I don't know. Maybe it just comes down to, like, if I have a girlfriend or a spouse or something, like, I would like that person to kind of only be mine. I don't know. I've never experienced what I could qualify as an open relationship. Like I said, like,
well, it's not only being yours. Like, if you knew that the person that you was hanging out was just a friend, wouldn't that be okay?
no, yeah, of course.
Okay, so
yeah.
that's perfect. Like, you're not being jealous. My thing is, like, for me, it's crazy when jealousness comes without a reason. Like,
Yeah.
like, my girlfriend now has a lot of friends, and a lot of them are men.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's
You know,
fine.
like I know that they're friends, and they can hang out.
But
and,
what if
and
you knew that part of your relationship was that some of those people she is having sex with when she's not with you?
No, that's why I'm saying I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I know that she can't as well. So, like I know that she couldn't, or like she probably wouldn't do it because she feels the same way. Like
Yeah.
she wouldn't be okay if I was, just we just fucking, like I'm just fucking someone else on a regular basis because
Do you think you can love somebody in that type of a scenario? Do you think you truly love somebody if you want to be going and get something on the side, something that you're not getting from somebody that you quote unquote
oh
love?
man, and then we were gonna go to like this love discussion is so vast.
That's okay.
That's okay. We have time.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That it depends. I don't know if you were to tell me that your girlfriend had an accident and like I don't know, you guys couldn't have sex anymore. Yeah, but if not, like, what the hell is going on? Like, why weren't you having sex with your girlfriend and like seeking for other people?
Right.
Like, because the problem is not the other, the problem is always you. Like, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
Don't you have enough pleasure, or what's going on?
I wouldn't say it's not. I don't want to say it's always you. Obviously, people get into their
Yeah,
own
but
shit.
most of the time, man, most of the time is you. You have the control over it. You get to choose. You can say, "Oh no, man, that's instinct. That's bullshit." Like, we're man or we're woman, and we are sexually attracted to each other, and we just had to let it go. Well, I mean, that kind of post hippie talk for me is. I mean, I lived through that. That's why I can say, like, for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's bullshit.
Mm.
It's bullshit. Like, either you are in a relationship that you chose to be in, and if it's open, you're probably gonna have like a whole shit ton of rules
Mm-hmm.
that you might not even speak about it, but they are there for sure.
And you probably don't necessarily agree with all of them, but you want to be with that person, and so you agree to them.
That's the
Like
problem.
that's
for me,
that's the
like,
thing I find weird about it is there's probably scenarios on both sides of that compromise that both of those people are like, yeah, I don't like this part of this,
yeah, and then
And
what
then
we
so
do,
like, what is that?
oh, I don't like it, and then you seek someone else.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
don't talk.
Yeah.
You just like, let's fuck someone else.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I'm sorry for people that are listening that have open relationships.
well, it's fine, man. I mean, it's
But-
your thought
But
on
that's
it.
my thought of it, and it's a thought of someone that actually had
Yeah.
more than a couple of open relationships. For me, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I've never really experienced something like that. Like I said, on the standpoint of like we're girlfriend and boyfriend, but also have relations with other people on the side, kind of at our leisure. Like I've never had anything like that. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't like you can't know how you feel about that type of thing until you actually go through with it and see how it goes.
I think that I don't know. Love is much faster. There's a film. For me, it's just well done porn film by Gaspar Noé called Love,
Okay.
which I think that the last thing that this guy feels is love. Maybe he loved himself a lot, but it comes to a point where he have a girlfriend and they open the relationship for another girl. And then there's a whole situation where his girlfriend goes away and he get together with the other girl that was with them, but just both of them. And then there's a condom that breaks, and the girl gets pregnant, and then his girlfriend find out, and that's cheating because he got with the girl without her. So like, and they didn't talk about rules and stuff, and like
Yeah.
I don't fucking understand that. Like, if you don't say that this is not okay, how is it cheating?
Well,
and the other part of it is like, for me, it's like a kind of like a macho type of shit. Because, so, it was okay for them to have like a girl in the relationship, but as soon as the girl asked to have a guy, the guy was like, "Oh no, I don't do this. Like, I'm not attracted to men." Type of stuff,
Well, how can you say in that this is again it kind of like when you're talking about like an open relationship, how can you say, well, we did this with the woman, so how come you can't do it with the man? It's like, well, that's just not part of who I am. This is an open relationship. I thought we were talking about our openness, regardless of whether or not that meant I would have, a threesome with a man or a woman. If I only want to do that with a woman and not a second man, then that's part of my sexual parameters, I guess.
Yeah, but
And
like,
I guess that would come in. Sorry, I guess that would come in where somebody might be like, okay, well then I'll go find somebody who will do that for me, even though I still want to spend time with you and I still care about you and blah 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 blah. I'm gonna go find somebody who will satisfy this urge that I have.
Yeah, and then we live in this loop that every urge that we have has to be satisfied. That's
Yeah.
a problem with generation.
That's
man.
an
Like,
interesting thing
it's
too.
it's great that we have more openness to sex that anywhere, like that in any other time, like even like the hippie times, like
Mhm.
we have much more openness to sex
It's
than
true.
in those times. But as well, we have to find a fine line that it's not only about us, like
Yeah.
only everything's about me. Everything's about me. All my wishes have to be satisfied. All
Mhm.
my, we
Well,
have
you're
to-
never gonna find that in one person, right? That's the point. You're never gonna find. Well, I wouldn't say never, but like, you're always gonna have to compromise with people, regardless. Whether it's like an activity that somebody likes that you don't like, or whether it's, a sexual thing that your partner wants to partake in. Like, you're always going to have things that you compromise on in a relationship. Like, that's kind of the whole crux of the thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't like your point about the cheating thing kind of strikes me. I don't know if I've told you about this before, maybe I have, but like I had an ex who had a friend who was very attractive, and they had like threesomes together before.
Wait, a girl or a guy?
My girlfriend and
had a-
her girlfriend.
Oh, and her girl. Okay.
They had a threesome before with her girlfriend's boyfriend and her,
Okay.
like a few years before
Yeah.
we started dating. And yeah, she's very attractive and very overtly flirty with me. To the point of was like, I actually said to her once, like, you have to convince that one. You have to convince my girlfriend because I'm on board. Right? And but yeah, so there was always kind of this like, oh, am I ever going to have this sort of, threesome thing happen?
Yeah.
And they would make out together.
Such as like 99% of men.
Right. Of course, we all want that.
Like, that's the
Of
same
course,
dream.
right? That was kind of one of the things, right? It was
Uh,
anyway, so like they would make out with each other at parties sometimes.
But while you were with them?
Yeah, while I was around.
Okay.
We're having a house party or something and
But
everybody's
she
drunk.
was your girlfriend at the
My
time.
girlfriend, yeah, and her friend,
Okay.
the girl, they would
Yeah.
make out with each other just like, they were drunk and they would do that.
Okay. And you were in the party.
I was in the party.
And you were not jealous.
I was and I wasn't. It was weird. Like, my buddies would come up to me and be like, "Oh, dude, that's so awesome. Like, your girlfriend's just like making out with that hot chick and like, it's so sexy." And I'd be like, "Yeah, but I'm not there. And I want to be in there. So if she wants that and I also
Yeah.
want that, how come we're not both having that?"
Yeah.
And And I would talk to her about it afterwards. I'd be like, like, unless you're including me in what you're doing,
Yeah.
you're cheating on me in front of my face.
Yeah.
And she didn't see it that way.
How did she say it?
Well, she was like, oh, no, it's just girls having fun and da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, but unless I'm in there too,
I'm not having fun.
I'm not having fun. I just get the tease of watching my girl make out with another girl and having all my buddies come over and tell me how awesome it is when it's really not.
You should try like making out with one of your friends.
Well, that's what she said. That's what she was
Like
she was
in
like,
front
well,
of
you
her.
can. That's what she said. She's like, well, my best friend's name is Stu. She's like, you can go make out with Stu if you want. And I would say like, well, I'm not attracted to Stu, so I don't want to make out with him. You're obviously attracted to her.
Yeah.
You want to make out with her, and that's okay.
Okay, but that was okay because it was another girl. Totally right. Because if
If
the
it was
girl
another
a guy,
dude, then yeah,
that would be
it would be
like. So that's for me. It's ridiculous.
exactly. And then yeah, she would say like, yo, you can make out with your friend, and I'd be like, wait, if you came around the corner at a party and I was making out with my buddy, you would have some fucking questions.
Okay, and what about if you were making out with another girl?
Right.
I mean, what's the difference? The sex of the person?
Yeah,
Like you're just making out with someone else.
exactly. This was my whole crux of the argument. And then it would just be like, oh, you just want to fuck her. And I'd be like, well, if you're going to, or again, like, yes. Yeah. I mean, that's like every dude's fantasy. And I know that you guys have experienced this before, and it seems like you're still into it. So how come I'm not being brought into it as your longtime boyfriend at this point, right? Like live-in boyfriend at this point.
Oh fuck, man.
Anyway, so that's kind of my only sort of even like touch with something like that really, like, I mean, I was open to it. I was open to, like, having that come in and out of our relationship if she wanted it, but only if I was involved in it. And only if it was, again, like if it was a dude, then I wouldn't have been cool with it, obviously.
Yeah, so that's the thing, it's so many fucking rules. It's a open relationship, and it wasn't, right?
No, it wasn't an open relationship.
That's for me. It's just I can't. Just for me, it's too much. I know, I physically can't. I get sick if I go through something like that. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Like, I wouldn't say that it really, like, again, it was like a confusing point for me. It wasn't one of those things that I was like, no, you're cheating on me. Well, you can't do this anymore. I was just like, it gave me an uneasy, weird feeling. I wasn't sure how I should be feeling about this.
Yeah, because I think this is part of our macho culture. This plays against us. Because it is okay and it's sexy because it's two girls and it's our fantasy. But hey, it's another person. If you think about terms of person, and like you are with someone, and that's the deal.
Especially if you're gonna claim some sort of sexual fluidity. If you're gonna say that you're bisexual or even have had those tendencies in the past or whatever, then yeah, it'll throw up a flag and that's weird too. I actually watched a TV show the other day where they're talking about dating a bisexual girl. They're trying to hook up with a bisexual girl. I shouldn't say trying to hook up. Trying to date a bisexual girl.
Say whatever you want, man.
And they talked about the one guy mentioned how that's too much competition. That's all the competition, Like if you're dating somebody who's bisexual,
two sexes.
yeah, like it would be weird. Not again. I hesitate to say weird. I've never been in a place where I had to feel like I would be concerned that my girlfriend would be like having sex with her female friends or even male friends, but like especially so female friends.
Yeah.
While they were like, hanging out together or something like that. Like that's never something that I've really even like considered. Yeah.
Oh well.
But like not even friends, just like people on the street, like when you're dating a beautiful woman, there's enough of dudes coming up trying to hit on your girl to last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine having that happening with both genders, you know, or with all genders. Like, every time an attractive girl came to talk to your woman, like, get away. She's mine.
Yeah. Well, that's again part of the game, you know. Like, if you're established with your girlfriend that this was not okay since the beginning, you wouldn't be mad that other girls would just talk to her. It's just talking.
Yeah, I've never been even like jealous of like guys coming up and hitting on a girlfriend. It's just like, well, I get to go home with her, so thanks for the compliment, dude. You know, that type of thing has never really bothered me. But it would, I think, if I knew that there was actually the possibility of that happening.
That's the thing, man.
Right?
So probably you're not fit for an open relationship as well.
Maybe not. Which is disappointing.
Yeah, man, because, like, I don't know, nowadays it looks like it's cooler if you are. You're more like, yeah.
Well, I
man.
I am open to the idea of it. Again, like, I've never
me too. I'm open
experienced
to
it.
the idea as long as it's not with me.
I've never experienced it, and from a standpoint of like staying with somebody, I've had those, and that's fine. It kind of comes down to, I guess, just, you know, definitions of what your relationship is with somebody, and maybe that just changes person to person. You know, there are people you meet that you want to just have, you know, all for yourself, and there are people you meet that you're fine. You know,
It's okay,
you're only attracted to certain parts of them or whatever, and so you're fine having them, you know, do their own thing and whatever.
if it's just for sex.
Well, not
It's-
just for
no,
sex.
no,
Like,
no,
so
no,
some people that you know, like, maybe there's a person that goes on hikes with you and stuff like that.
Okay,
and,
but what I'm
then
saying is
maybe
that
there's a
it's the
person that likes to
fun
play
part,
video
you
games
know,
with you, and those
that's what
aren't
I'm
the same
saying.
person.
Everything that you said is just fun. But in a relationship, you also get the bad part,
Yeah.
which is like whenever the person is in shit,
Yeah.
you like, it's not that you have to be, but like you're probably gonna be there for her as well.
Yeah, you
or
should.
for him,
Yeah.
you know, and that's the other part of the relationship. You know, if you're just like having sex with someone, I highly doubt it. Like, the person will call you when she's in shit or whatever. And you know what?
Yeah.
If you said no, you're just someone that she's having sex with or he's having sex with. You know.
That's definitely an interesting
So like for me,
line.
the relationship is it englobes all of it. You know,
Yeah.
the good part and the bad part. And whenever the person is in shit, you're there to help. Like, and you feel good about it. I've been in this currently relationship. You know, some of these stories that where like my partner needed me, and it's not because I'm a super guy or super boyfriend that I was, but I was happy to be there for her, to help her through this shitty time that she was going through. And you know, it's maybe like a thing of like, let's try to pull this off together. You know, let's try to do it together, because it gives you some leverage as well to be able to, whenever you are in shit, because life is up and downs, man. It doesn't matter how much we try to push our frustrations, it's gonna be frustrating anyway, so
Yeah.
we might as well start to dealing with this right now.
It's true.
But if you have someone that you can count on in a regular basis, it's so much nicer, man.
I totally agree. And actually, you know what? I kind of want to get into that a little bit deeper. Maybe we should take a break and
Right.
and have a smoke and come back. And okay, we'll be back on the Slack line with JWoww and the boss.
I'm
driving the old Vitara, so
Oh,
makes a
this
lot of
old
noise.
Vitara. This old Vitara was my car,
Okay.
which
We have
I'm driving
Rodolpho
your
on the
piece of
line.
shit car.
it's a piece of shit car.
It's a
Rodolfo
piece of shit car.
Rodolfo bought the car
Nope.
from me.
Nobody wanted to buy it, so I helped Johnny's father.
And
I'm a very good friend.
How much did you pay for the car, Rodolfo?
Well, way more than it's worth it.
you piece of shit. You
So Joao's dad ripped you off for this car?
It did. It happens.
Son of
I still like Johnny though.
I told him, and I swear to God, one thing that I told to Rodolfo before buying this car, because this car was so tangled up in a lot of like law shit, I told him, Rodolfo, he bought another car from me in the past and it was fine, and I told him thank you and it was great, and I told him specifically for this car, I told Rodolfo, don't buy this car. This car is trouble. Did Rodolfo listen to me? No. He bought the fucking
But
piece
let
of
me
shit.
tell you.
And then he had a lot of fucking troubles. And what did I tell him? I told you so. I told you so. Don't buy the car.
But let me tell you something, buddy.
Yeah.
Every time I get in this car, I remember you and our friendship, and that is just priceless for me.
But
He owned you with a very sweet line. That was very
I'm
nice,
a very
Rodolfo.
rich guy.
it's
so
true,
that's
but
why
we are
I can afford
so
this car.
friends that you told me as well that whenever you are in the washroom, have a time off with yourself, you also think of me. So
Yes, sir. Because you remember me, your sister. And I miss her a lot.
Oh.
I wish she would say the same thing for you.
Well, I'm sorry to be honest with you, but it's about time, buddy.
Ow.
I like her mustache. It's just like yours.
That's what we need. That's why we're doing this show,
Right?
man. People for people being honest.
Yeah. Wow.
We were chatting about dating and about ficar, which I translated as staying with a woman,
Okay.
and open relationships and all this kind of bullshit. And now we are moving on and talking about the film industry and about our plans for the future. Now I know that you lived in San Diego. We are really close friends. He's my best friend, and you live in San Diego for quite a while. And I know that you want to get out of the country and also do something outside of the country, right? And can you tell us what's your dream? I know that you have he works with wood furniture. And
Oh,
it's
great.
Really gorgeous.
Cool.
And what are your plans of for leaving the country, Rodolfo?
So my dream is to have first of all is to have a nice family, and that's why I work for.
Wow.
And it's sad, but Brazil it's not one of the safest countries to live. And the lifestyle here in Brazil doesn't please me. So that's why I'm looking for to export my furniture and to open a business abroad. I intend to go to either California or to Europe. My wife, she wants to go to California because we already have friends over there, and she has some contacts, like professional contacts as well. So we are hemming and hawing about what to do. Maybe California, maybe Europe, maybe Vancouver.
Cool.
We never know.
What?
So I work.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I work with reclaimed wood, only solid wood, sustainable wood, eco-friendly, and it's pretty artistic. We work with mainly with designers and architects here in Brazil. It's a small company. We don't intend to be huge. We intend to be good at what we do. So that's what we have in our goals.
Great, great. What type of furniture do you actually like specialize in? Is it mostly like, chairs or like tables? Like
It's
what type?
mostly dining tables, coffee tables, consoles, and we make a lot of special projects as well. The mainly feedstock that we use is wood. We also work with stainless steel, iron, glass, resins. So it's pretty much one-of-a-kind furniture that we make.
Cool.
We use tree roots that were submerged in rivers, burnt leftovers as we chase here.
Oh, that sounds really great. What's the name of the company?
The company is called Boule.
Boule. How do you spell that?
It's Boulle.
Oh, okay, cool. And do you guys have like any like online presence or anything like that?
Yes, we do have a website. It's boule.com.br because it's Brazil.
Okay.
And our website is in English already. We're making a new website that's going to go online.
It's gonna go online when you are offline.
Oh, video paused for connection.
Of how we make the furniture and our process and how we deal with the business. It's pretty nice. We also have English subtitles.
Oh, okay.
Johnny recorded, so it's if you don't like the video, please you can complain with him, not to me.
That's great.
What else? And that's pretty much it. It's a business, family business.
And can people order your furniture like online or anything like that, or do you specifically just serve like in your Brazil area, in your local area right now?
No, we can ship everywhere in the world. We export directly from my company. We don't have e-commerce because I have a lot of feedstock that I can make something special for you. So I will talk to you to see what you really need, and then I'm gonna produce something specially just for you.
Oh, that's great. So it's all custom then.
All custom and one-of-a-kind furniture, yes.
That is really, really great. That is Boule in Brazil, and you're looking. So you're Johnny said you're going to possibly San Francisco. What part of Europe are you looking at?
I had the first meeting with a woman from Lisboa, Portugal. She came straight to know the company, to meet us, to see how can we start a business over there.
Okay, cool.
Nice. And you guys also sponsor our show, right? You are one of the sponsors.
We're very happy to sponsor this show. You guys are very close friend of mine, and there's no way I could stay out of it. I have my credit card, and every time you guys want it, it's just available for you.
We appreciate that. We appreciate all the support from Boule Furniture in Brazil.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you, Rodolfo. We talk later,
problem.
and that's our main sponsor. Thank you for dropping by.
Thank you, guys. Anytime. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks,
see you
Rodolfo.
later.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
See you later, man. Take care.
You too. Now, that's a funny story about this car.
Yeah.
It was the car that he bought for me was actually the first car that I had, and this car my father bought from another he bought from a friend of his, and it was tangled up with debt whenever he bought it.
Tangled up with what? Sorry.
With debt, like
debt.
The car. My father tried to pay, but the guy owned.
Oh, with
someone,
debt. With debt.
yeah,
Okay,
with debt.
sorry. Yeah. Okay.
So like this car story is a mess, but anyways, was my first car, and I was so happy. And I know Rodolfo for a long time, but our friendship actually started in this car. So one day I called Rodolfo. He was a distant friend by this time, and I was like, "Hey, I am with a new car, and I'm 17 years old. Let's go for a drive." So we went for a drive with the car, and it's a Jeep. So I got this Jeep and Rodolfo, and like, yeah, man, let's go to try to do some like weird off-road shit.
It's a Jeep.
It's a Jeep.
Jeep,
Yeah.
It sounded like you said it's a Jeep.
No, it's a Jeep.
It's a Jeep.
It's a Jeep. So we go out and try to do this off-road trail, and we almost flipped the car, like in a point that
Oh, shit.
both of the wheels were outside of the ground, and we were almost flipping, and then we go back into gravity, and we look at each other like, cool. So then that's where friendship actually
That's
happened.
pretty cool. That was really sweet. That was really sweet what he said about how your guys' friendship was kind of born in that car, and that he thinks about you when he drives it around, and that's one of the reasons that he bought it. That's pretty neat. Cool. It's awesome to have friends that go way back like that. That's one of the things that I feel lucky about too. Having friends back home that they're just awesome people, and you can spend as much time away from those types of people as it takes, but
whenever you come back, it's same,
always
right?
the same. It's like you
Yeah.
saw each other yesterday, and
Yeah.
shout out to any of those guys back home in Calgary that are listening. It's probably none of them, but that's fine.
Thanks,
That was
Calgary
really-
guys.
Thanks, Calgary guys, for your support. That was great from Rodolfo and Boulay Furniture. That sounded really cool. I'm gonna
It
check
is.
that out.
It is. Check it out. I actually made several videos from them.
Oh,
when I
really?
was-
Yeah. He said you guys did the voiceover, but
Yeah.
maybe you just did the whole videos.
No, I did the whole video. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Boulay.
.com.br. Go check it out.
.com.br.
As a matter of fact, I also.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I put bullet. Oh no, isn't that how I said?
Oh, we figured this out later.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway,
Okay.
Rodolfo, it's an interesting character. He used to be an actor,
Oh, okay.
and he went to San Diego to live. He lived there for 2 years, and I visited him at the time with my girlfriend at the time. We spent there like 45 days or something like that.
Yeah.
And now he's a businessman. He came back to Brazil to help his father up with Boulay.
Okay.
And yeah, man, whenever Rodolfo does something, he does as well, like 100%. So the company became much bigger since Rodolfo took over, and he's doing really well with the business there.
Yeah,
man.
sounds like he's got everything shaping out, and he's got some big plans going forward, which is really great.
And you know what? Like we were talking about how like his dream was to be a musician. He also plays very
interesting.
well the guitar and an actor. And it changed. It shifted to Boulay, and it's so interesting how he actually applied his skills into developing this company, and he's happy doing it. So like his first dream was to be a musician and
A performer.
but he applied a lot of his skills that he had, and also like the skills that he had to be a performer and an artist as a salesman for his furniture. And he's doing so great, man. I'm so proud of him. Even though his dream just changed,
Yeah.
So we're talking just before when I arrived here, just before we started Slackline today, about our dreams for the future and our first impressions of the film industry and stuff, and how hard it looks from like just trying to get in and doing some stuff and just get shit done in this industry in the beginning.
Yeah.
So like how hard it is that sometimes we just feel like giving up our dreams,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not, like, I haven't reached those types of points personally yet. I mean, this is all pretty new to me still, as far as trying to chase a dream that is, centered around your talents, and not so much around business prowess or whatever you want to call it. But you get into really really deep waves of self-doubt a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Especially if you're coming at it from an artistic standpoint, which some people aren't, like especially in this industry, the film industry, there's a lot of money in it. Like lot of money and a lot of money at stake, right? They're putting hundreds of millions of dollars, close to $1 billion into some of these films. So that's not the control of that is not centered around artistry as much.
Much more business.
Much more business, like, right? We see that with things like Star Wars and whatnot. It's much more. It's geared with toys in mind and that type of deal. Not that that's just Hollywood, right? But those are the things that make these things money, right? These small projects, these little pet projects that people have, they don't necessarily make money for them. They're more about grabbing attention, right? And so, when you have good ideas, especially you and I come at this from like a writer's perspective, right? Like, if you're a cinematographer or something like that, or if you're just kind of interested in sort of any other aspect of it, I think there is more of a tangible line for how you can get involved in the industry and learn from people and stuff like that.
Yeah, but if you're interested in directing and writing and producing, things are very, very much so different, right?
Right. Like producing, you can go about, sitting on a set and stuff like that as a PA and working your way up through, sort of like an office mode like that. But like if you want to be a quote unquote producer of films, somebody that's known as, this person will get stuff done and will get my movie made, you have to do that.
Sure.
Right.
But don't you think that also it comes down to yes, you can be a PA and work your way up, but also there's the kind of things that you would produce and the kinds of things that you wouldn't produce. Like we were talking about that the films. Okay, I'll be a producer for this film because this film says something that I actually believe.
Yeah.
And like those kind of stuff, rather than like just being a guy that make shit done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you need people like that.
Yeah.
You need people that only care about chasing the money, that only care about your idea because it's profitable. Because let's be honest, like it has to be profitable, right?
In what sense? Profitable in what sense? Because
profitable. Initially,
a lot of art that has been made.
Yeah.
It wasn't profitable until
I know.
It was profitable.
It's true. I would say initially profitable means it grabs attention. The profit is in people is in interest, I guess, more than anything. If you can get people interested in your idea, whether that is from a single pitch meeting with that you lucked out getting in front of like a high level producer, or whether you actually have to go out and make a trailer or make a short or something like that and try and find a few $1,000s that you can throw together something that you can then try and distribute to people as, a concept of something larger. The only way you're going to get to that concept of something larger is if you convince somebody that it's profitable.
Okay. So, just coming back a little bit, we've been to film school together, and those are our first, 6 months. Let's say 6 months.
Yeah.
Out there, what are your first impressions? From the film industry.
My first impressions are that, like in contrast to what we've learned or something, or just in general.
In general.
My first impressions are that it is easier to get into than I thought. As far as
getting a job.
And getting kind of just acquainted with people that have a common interest. Because
Okay.
everybody that works on sets,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody, the majority of people that work on sets are interested in their own shit, right?
Like
They're like us.
grips or
They're grips and electrics and whatever. Like, kind of depending on what their station is, you can kind of guess what most people are.
okay.
Like, obviously most of the background tends to want to be actors and or writers.
Mhm.
Most people want to end up directing their own stuff eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Grips and electrics, they tend to kind of want to be either cinematographers or like directors and writers again.
Mm-hmm.
So, and people that run PAs tend to want to, and NADs and stuff like that might be more directing to like producing and those types of things. So you can kind of gauge what people are interested in, and everybody has something that they want to do
that they are not doing it yet.
that they're not doing. But what I've also kind of my main impression coming here is, like, as somebody that wants to be more like a quote unquote storyteller with words, I thought that was like going to be everybody's drive, like, yeah, there's sound guys, and I shouldn't say guys. Yeah, there's sound people, and yeah, there's, script supervisors and da. But I always kind of had this thought in my mind that everybody that was involved in this
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be the top thing.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody started out as that, at some point maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But, most people have found their way into some sort of comfort, or just like, some people get their jam on it. Like a sound person.
Well, even
Sound
like
people really
even like
interest me.
Rodolpho,
Yeah, Rodolpho.
like he got his gig out of like being a businessman after all,
Yeah, well, what I mean more is like there are people that are actually just interested in doing the sound, and that's all they want to do. That's how they get their jam. They love picking up small little sounds just in the environment and using them in films, and like that's what they love to do. And I can't imagine spending so much time doing something like that. That, to me, the idea that somebody would want to do that is crazy, right? But there are people that want to do that, right? And they want to do it for you, 'cause that's their jam. Like, if you bring it to them, they'll be excited about it, versus thinking that it's, oh, this is going to be work. Ugh. I mean, some people are like that, obviously, and I think that that kind of stems to the importance of being close with people that you kind of grow with in the industry, we have a great group of friends and close people that we've ended up working with through school projects and whatnot, not just in our own class, but in other schools and other things, that we can kind of play favors off of each other and work with each other, because we enjoy working with each other, and we enjoy doing things for each other, and we have interest in each other's ideas, rather than needing a few $100s here and there to work on something. It will get to that point eventually, and that's kind of always the goal, is like, okay, yeah, I mean, you do me a favor, I do you a favor, and hopefully, once we both do each other enough favors, we're starting to make money doing it. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting field. It surprises me how undifferent it is from all other industries than I thought. Like, it's just like anything else. Show up and work hard and do your shit. But on the side, everybody's interested in what your side project is, versus being in any other industry. Like, when I was in finance, like, nobody gave a fuck what your hobbies are, like, outside of, just personal interest. Whereas, like, here, your hobbies are your work, and everybody kind of recognizes that. Everybody recognizes that what you're doing on a set is not what you actually want to do, unless you're one of, like, the top few people.
Yeah, I think my impressions are pretty much the same, but to be honest, I tell people I'm very disappointed.
How so?
How so?
Maybe it was I was just getting in with a naive mindset of what would it be. But I just give you an example. But mainly, I'm very disappointed of how people treat each other in this particular industry.
I would agree with
you
that.
know, like it's such a matter of sometimes I feel like people are so phony falling into this industry. I remember once I was a PA on a show, a production assistant, and for some reason in that day I just it was going to be a shitty day with a lot of rain, and I for some reason I just woke up and dressed nicely, like nicer than most of the PAs would dress for a fucking shitty day like that. So I got into set well dressed. I had my beret, my cap, and everything. And whenever I got out of the van, I didn't know by the time, but these two producers come to me, and they were like, they were treating me so well when I got out of the van. And like, hey, how's it going? How are you? Blah 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 blah. And like I felt that they were trying to know in which
Who you were.
who was I? Like who? That's the thing in this industry that is so funny is that who you are is what you do. You know, so
Yeah.
probably they thought I was like an actor or a producer or whatever, and they would treat me so nice until the time. And I swear to God, until the time I said, "Oh no, I just came here for PA," immediately they didn't even say goodbye. They immediately turned their back at me
Yeah.
and start chatting about something else. Like for them at that moment, I was just a loss of time.
Mm-hmm.
And their faces even changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like their smiles were
They're like,
gone.
oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and like
You're the riffraff.
Yeah, so like the phoneness in this all like treating people well kind of environment, he just like fell apart and was like, what the fuck am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this? And who are these people?
Yeah.
Like, where did you learn to treat people so badly if they are in like, I don't know, like a lower scale of the business or whatever? You know what I mean?
I think part of that comes from, well, part of it is just being in that industry for so long, and when you get treated like that when you are a rookie, for lack of a better term, it perpetuates this sort of mentality, right? But I also think it stems from like the leaders of these regiments are artists. And a lot of the time, I wouldn't say a lot of the times, some of the times those people are not stable people. Actually, I will say a lot of the times. A lot of the times those people aren't stable people, you know? I don't consider myself necessarily stable. You know, I have fits of like really unabashed unabashed anger or like unreasonable anger at like, you know, technology and stuff when things don't go my way. Like I do, right? And I recognize that that's not really good, but it's also, I can't help it, you know? Yes, it happened 2 days ago when I was trying to post the short version of the Slackline, and Instagram for some reason wouldn't let me post the text that goes along with the pictures, which is like 90% of posting something to Instagram is all like the hashtags and stuff like that. And so I was fuming. And it's a good thing that my roommate was here because I would have been like much more destructive if he hadn't been. And Boris was like freaking out about it and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like pacing around angrily, you know, and just kind of muttering to myself like, motherfucker, like, why the fuck isn't this fucking working? Like, it makes no fucking sense that it's not working. But I can feel it like inside me that there's just this like I could burst. And so
what
like
does it have to do with
yeah,
treating
like in
people
relevance with,
badly?
like if I was the director of a film, or like we've seen so many videos or heard so many stories of actors and directors and stuff like that going off on people when they interrupt their process or when they, basically do kind of normal things. But, these people, artists come from a different mindset, right? Like, it's an expressive mindset. It's a mindset of not being afraid of what anybody thinks about your vision or anything, right? And so you have to be uninhibited to try and get that vision. Not saying you there's different ways to go about it, obviously, but we've heard these stories, we've seen these videos all on the way, that I think some people think that that's how it's supposed to be.
So sorry, you are telling me that they treat people badly because they are artists?
No, I'm saying that most artists have instabilities that will cause not treating people badly necessarily, like en masse, but maybe blowing up at this one person, or the threat that they could blow up at somebody kind of at any moment, just because that's who they are. It reverberates through the whole group of people, this tension, and everybody feels it. And I'm not saying that and I think that it's just become ingrained in people, whether or not the people at the top are like that. I think that it's just become ingrained that it's okay to treat the people below you badly because we're dealing with artists.
I don't know.
That's like that. I mean that
That's
as like
what
that's a
your
mindset.
impression.
That's a mindset of just like, okay, I won't say because we're dealing with artists, just because that's the way it is. Because hey, if I don't do my job, then that guy yells at me, or if they don't do their job, then that person yells at them.
But
Whether
that's
or not,
a lot of people
whether or not that
yelling.
I know, but whether or not that's true, whether or not those people are actually going to yell at them or not, is beside the point. It's
Listen.
all about how people think about it and apply it to the people below them.
This is not science, rocket science. This is not making a brain surgery into someone. This is making films, and a lot of times, not very, very, very artistic films.
I
you know?
agree.
And in my vision is, well, first of all, what came to me is like when I arrived in the sets, I saw these people. They seemed that they didn't sleep for ages, because they actually didn't
Yeah.
sleep for ages.
Yeah.
So they were working for like 16 hours straight, 5 days or 6 days, and like my question is, why? Do you really want to live your life working 16 hours a day in something that you know that artistically it's not very cool? Like, I mean,
We all have to
the
make money,
prediction-
man.
I know, man, but there's tons of way of making money. And like,
Yeah, but some people.
so just
Go ahead.
getting a hook in what you say, in what you said before. The disappointment is that this is not about art. Again, it's about money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were talking about films, but most of people that I've known in this past months, they don't give a shit about what's has been there, what's going to be on screen. But you know why? Because I don't remember, of course, being a production assistant, the single time I received a script or a side.
Mm-hmm.
So we had no idea, and like a lot of people had no idea what's going on and what the film is about, and what's like. So I don't know. For me, it's really hard to care about something like that. I care
Well-
about my job or what I have to do, and like how many trash cans I have to look over and like pass by, because that's my job. But like artistically, you don't know what you're doing like 90% of the times or more.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's why I enjoy things like gripping more than PAing and stuff. Like PAing is nice because you can have time to yourself and you can actually like do work and things while you're doing your thing. Sometimes.
I never did that.
Well, I mean, or you could read or whatever you want to do, depending on what you're doing. But like I like gripping 'cause you're actually like seeing what's going on, and you can see how people put things together. As far as like designing shots and designing light and stuff like that, it's just helpful. So I enjoy that aspect of it. But yeah, I totally see where you're coming from. I mean, it's like any other business, man. Like those projects, those crappy little like made for TV movies and stuff like that we work on, for some reason they make money. And as artists that want to make something more substantial, more quote unquote visionary or something like that, I think we kind of have to appreciate those things, because
What things?
like those shitty things that provide
What?
they provide the money necessary to make the projects that we want to do, that end up, not all of them, but every once in a while, I think that the real art does show through. Like, yes, there is stuff like shitty TV movies, and yes, there is an inundation of, superheroes and high CG and stuff like that. But even within those realms, there are interesting things.
I
You know?
understand, man.
And, like, and even-
yeah, but you know what? Sometimes I feel like a month of just like jerking off would be more productive than like 2 days on set.
Well, if you could make a couple $100 jerking off.
I'm talking about myself, not other people.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I won't be
yeah,
making
true.
any
We won't
money.
get into, I mean, porn's an industry out here too, actually. But yeah, what I mean more is that we can't necessarily, or we shouldn't necessarily look down on that stuff and avoid that stuff, because it,
No, man. Listen, I'm not looking down on the people doing that
No,
stuff.
of course
I'm looking
not.
down on the projects. I know
Yeah.
that the people doing this are talented
no,
people.
yeah, I
but
totally
they're
hear you.
employing their
we're
their
all-
talents in only making money. At that point, and they
But
know that.
yes, they know that, but I think that if you talk to most of them, they are all doing it with the ultimate goal of making something that they want to make, And as long as that's somebody's ultimate goal in something, then I am for it. Like, I think people can get stuck in like career mode and stuff like that, even within our artistic industry. You can get stuck in a mode of just being an AD on made for TV movie sets, and you can probably make a pretty great living for the rest of your life doing something like that. Yeah. But there's that's tough to see, but that type of lack of drive exists everywhere. You see that in every office, in every school, in every sort of workplace that there ever is. There are people that have no motivation to go any further than they're already sitting. But when you have people that are there, like, yeah, I go and I make, I'm a DP or whatever on these made-for-TV movies for half the year, and then I go and I take the money that I make and I try to make these small little projects, and because they want to be known, for that vision versus this, what their job is, quote-unquote job is. I mean, again, like, it comes back, like, that's what you have to do, right? Even if you've worked your way up to first AD on fucking Star Wars. If you want to be a director, if you want to make your own film, the first AD of Star Wars is not making your own film, right? And so,
But maybe he doesn't want to.
maybe he doesn't want to, and that's or she, and that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that any is real better or worse. Yeah, but for me, as long as that person is like, yeah, I don't know where it can get lost, because at that level, I mean, you are an integral part of this film, at a creative level too, as far as structuring how things are running. Like that takes a lot of creativity in making things work and trying to make sure everybody's happy and all that type of bullshit. Like, I'm not shitting on ADs. Absolutely not. But not many people like come to Hollywood to be an assistant director in a film. I don't know. Maybe they do though. That's the thing. Like I found out people that do come to Hollywood to be in sound or do come to Hollywood to be in CG graphics and stuff like that, right? Which is stuff that we want to utilize within our art. So we have to know people and have to
My point here, I remember one of our director teachers from film school, and he was not at the time. He was not a teacher there. He was just a guest speaker, and this guy made his way through indie film, and he was being very honest about it. He was like, dude, I've known some friends of mine that took the PA path after school, and I took the indie path after school, and 5 years later, of course, I'm struggling for money, and I happened to run into one of those guys in like a liquor shop, and he's selling some liquor. And I'm like, okay, so what happened to the dream? What happened? Oh, I just got tired of like being in these productions, and it was too hard, too many hours, and I'm just selling liquor right now. And it was just not one case about it.
He'd lost the drive for it.
My thing is like lost the drive and being lost in the loop of making a lot of money, don't having any hours for yourself and doing the art that you actually believe on, or writing the things that you actually believe on, and then having to pay a mortgage of a house, or a house in Vancouver, being a PA. All right, maybe like not a house, but like a car or whatever things you are you now have to pay. Then now you are stuck in the loop of having to make a lot of money to pay the things that and then you totally forget what your dream was.
Yeah.
I mean, you can eventually go back, but it gets harder and harder with time,
Yeah. I mean, I think that comes back to the real crux of the thing, or that element of self-doubt, it can seem really, it can be nice, to be working in this field, especially if you've told people that it's something that you want to do. It can be nice to come and you'll be employed in this field and be working in it and actually making money doing it. Versus what might be more of an indie path of, I'm gonna work at whatever shop that just gives me, or whatever gives me the time and hours I need and can sustain myself so I can work on my own stuff. There's an inherent risk in that none of your own stuff ever actually works out, and then you don't have this actual career coming back at you, or you don't have this actual career really to fall back on in the industry that you're actually wanting to be a part of. You're just a barista, and you've been a barista for 5 or 6 years into your mid-30s or something. You've been trying to get people to read your stuff, or you've been trying to get money for projects, and whatever the case is that you've been trying to do. And then all of a sudden, 6 or 7 years go by and you haven't made any progress in this actual industry. Like, that's a scary thought, right?
That's a scary thought, but that's a scary story. You can write a thousand of scary stories.
Yeah, but that's the risk of taking an artist's path, I guess. And but the thing is there's.
But the thing is that you already took. So if you're ending up being a barista.
But people come out here but people come out and they find out, like I said, like, oh, I can actually make money, like being just like a second AC and just
Man,
being around movies,
make-
like that's cool.
Boss, that's the thing. Making money is not the problem. I mean, if you've been there, man. Like,
Yeah,
you went from like
you got to hold the mic to your thing.
sorry. you went through a business status guy to
Yeah.
an artist guy. I mean, money is not the thing. You know, like if it was just for the money, you probably would have stayed there and wouldn't pay like. Film
Yeah,
school
well, I
and
mean
stuff.
that's my mindset. But what I'm saying is, especially so we're kind of on the older spectrum of the people that we went to school with. We're pushing 30, close to 30 each of us. A couple years away from that, and I can see from like a 20-something-year-old's perspective, an early 20-year-old's perspective, who has been through high school and maybe been through a little bit of college or a little bit of something here and there, or taken some time off and now is trying to get into filmmaking. I can see how it can be attractive to go and work background, or to go and work on PA sets and stuff like that, or as a PA or whatever, and just be in it that way. I can see how that's attractive for that. But like, because you're making, like again, I said, you're making money at this industry that people tell you when you're going to go and be in this industry, they tell you that you can't make money doing it, even though that's ridiculous because like I said, there's so much fucking money in it. But because it's an artistic medium, people assume that you can't make money doing it. And so it's kind of the assumption when you get to a city like Vancouver, or you go to LA or something like that, that you won't be able to do it. And so to be able to tell people, yeah, I am working on sets, and yeah, I am doing this, and it's an attractive option when the other option is, yeah, I'm just delivering pizzas or something like that, but I am working on my own stuff and I am going to get my projects going, and like that can be totally true. That can be totally true. But until you do that, you're still just a pizza delivery boy, right? And if you don't accomplish any of those things in a few years, you're just a pizza delivery boy, barista, whatever it has been that you've been doing to sustain yourself for that time.
Sure.
And that's fucking scary, man.
Yeah, but you're a pizza delivery boy with a dream.
Yeah.
Which is
Like I'm not saying
which
that's
is
a bad
much-
thing.
Which is much better than someone that just like, okay, that's reality.
Well,
and
that's a
it.
matter of perspective, man. Like some people are totally fine with, dreams being dreams, and they stay that way, and they're unattainable goals, and there are realistic things that you can achieve. Like your friend Rodolpho said, like his goal is to provide for his family and create a good life for his family, and if that's your goal, then what you're doing for work or whatever might not matter as much.
Okay, so the goal changed, but if the goal doesn't change, it doesn't change. So you're still gonna be a pizza delivery boy with a dream and a goal, even though you don't achieve it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all a matter of perspective and how you feel about that. Like personally, the reason I came out here is because I feel that I'm okay with that, and because I feel like I can go back to making a boring career out of something if I need to in my 40s or something. But I also now find that I come out here and I can make a boring career out of this if I really want to.
Oh yeah,
I can make budgets or some shit like that. If I really wanted to get into, making steady income doing this, which, that doesn't interest me right now, because like you said, I could have done that and stayed where I was at and made a good chunk of money doing it. And so, but I mean, it is much more interesting to do when you're doing it for films than when you're doing it for, just people's bank accounts.
Yeah, sure, man. But I think a big chunk of it is resilience and keeping the dream alive, man.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. It can be tough to do though sometimes because, like I said, there's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of wondering if your stuff is good enough. And I find there's also a lot of resentment when you see stuff that is not good and you're like, fuck that. I can do better than that.
Mm-hmm.
That is shit.
You can do, but you haven't.
Exactly. No, that's the point, man. That's you nailed it right there. Like, you can do, but you haven't, I think is the biggest thing. I think coming out here, the biggest thing for me is doing, you know, and trying to get out of a mindset of being afraid of whether or not people are going to like it, and just fucking doing it and getting it out there. And because, you know, most times I've found in any sort of artistic endeavor, there are people that like it, whether it's been music or art or something like this, or film or whatever. You know, some people like it, and the people that don't usually keep their mouth shut. And so just do things for the people that like it, including yourself, especially yourself. You know, don't worry about people that are going to hate on you for your stuff. And I think that's the biggest thing as an artist, is just not worrying about what people think about it, which is tough because you're really exposing. I mean, it's different to make a presentation on like an investment plan or something like that than it is to make it a spiel about a story that like means something to you, or, you know, even to like expose a song or a piece of art, because those are like they're emotionally tied to you, you know, and a lot of times they have to do with the people that are around you. So it can be really difficult, even like something like this. Like, it's tough for me sometimes to come on here and talk, thinking that maybe some of the people that I'm talking these things about might actually tune into this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not. Like, let's be honest. But on the off case that they are, you know, it's weird to hear things from a third person's point of view like that. You know, I experience that as a musician a lot. When you've written songs about people and for people, and you continue to perform them, and now you're with different people, and you're in a room, a bar or something that's packed full of people, and there's your current girlfriend, and there's the girl that you wrote all these songs about. You know, you can see how musicians can't hold relationships around, right? Because you're constantly having to write and pull from your own life. Include not just musicians, you know, artists. You're constantly having to pull from your own life, and so if you're telling the truth on the page in a script or something like that, even if it's allegorical, people see through it, and it can be tough to go and show that to people now that might even be involved in it somehow. You know?
Yeah, man. I think that's a little bit. I don't know. That's a little bit off in my opinion, because like, if you think about what's the name of the girl that the woman that wrote Harry Potter?
Yeah.
She probably didn't went through a lot, you know, or you know.
Yeah, but I mean that depends on what you're trying to write about. Like, so an example, I came up in Hawaii. I started writing a story about my like past relationship, and it like I've outlined a full like novel book about it.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing is going to be like the truth from my perspective.
Okay.
And so what it's just kind of if I was still with that person,
Yeah.
or if I was with a different person, it would be a weird thing to be writing about. You know?
Yeah.
To spend my day thinking and writing about somebody else, a past relationship or something like that, for months maybe while I finish a book.
Yeah.
And be with somebody else. Right? Like it's a weird mindset to be in. I'm not saying that you can't do it. It's just it's an emotional roller coaster because you have to be in it when you're making this stuff. Like any artist will tell you, even like touring musicians, their songs will never be as good as when they're really feeling it, as when they immediately wrote it, you know, as when they were like crying over the fucking page that they are writing on. Like, it will never be as good as that on a fucking Wednesday.
For them or
for them?
Or
no, I think in general
for the audience.
For everybody, it won't be as true. It won't be the art. It's like having a print of a painting in your house. It's the print.
Man, you can assess feelings from long times after.
Yeah, and going back to songs, like I now pull new meaning out of even my own songs.
Mm-hmm.
Apply them to different situations, or like, oh, it has even more meaning now that I've went through this. But again, it will never be performed as well as the time that that hits you again. And I'm not saying that it doesn't hit you, like it can hit you multiple times, but like Coldplay jamming out "Fix You" at like O2 Arena in London with like everybody coming back at him and singing his song back at him. That probably gives him a moment,
Yeah, Coldplay is lame.
Okay. Well, that probably gives Chris Martin a moment.
All right.
But doing that on a Wednesday night in Edmonton, Alberta, probably doesn't. And that song is not as good because of it, in my opinion. Will never be as good as it is in that other moment. When he's feeling it, when he's actually thinking about the person that he wrote that song about.
Yeah, I can't say much about it because I've never been to Edmonton.
Well, I'm sure you've been to not so nice places. I was going to say something else, but we can't go down that road anymore.
All right, man. So, yeah, I think, but just to conclude, is just like, for what I experienced here, I just don't want to get lost in the loop of
Yeah.
having to make money and being tangled up on debt that I can't now pursue my dream. So I think, as I was telling you, for people, dreams are for some people, dreams are just dreams, and
Mhm.
like it's nice to have them. But for me, dreams is what actually keeps us going. And as a human being, it's a special ability to be able to dream and to pursue your dreams and eventually to accomplish them. No other animal in the world has this ability.
That's a really great thing to say. I won't even try to refute it with anything. Yeah, man, it's true. And I'm on the same boat as you. Like, that's why I came out here. I came out here to, as lame as it sounds, and like it shouldn't sound lame. This is my whole thing. It shouldn't sound lame for me to say I came out here to be an artist. Like, I'm an artist. I am a musician.
That's not lame.
I'm a painter. I'm a talk show radio host. Like, these are all art forms, a filmmaker. And I think that people get shy about that. I do. I think people get shy about sharing their own artwork because it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's kind of a piece of your soul. So,
Do you think that it would be easier nowadays if without social media, like without all
it's
the
tough to say,
like
man.
like without all the fear that you can be stabbed by people if they don't actually like your stuff, and then like you read about it and shit. Like, do you think that it might be easier, like without the feedback, or the noxious feedback, if you will?
Yeah, well, I mean, on one hand, it's obviously easier to reach audiences. And part of negative feedback can be positive too, right? Depending on what you're trying to do. If like for us, negative feedback could be a good thing if people started like really hating what we were doing and like and started really, shouting insults at us and stuff like that we could like engage with and stuff like that would probably technically be good for us. But I mean, it's not good when you get a bad review on anything, right?
I don't know. It depends, like it really depends. You see, I was just remembering one of these stories of Apocalypse Now and the bad reviews that he had just before coming up, and all the bad stories that they were talking about the film and Coppola, and actually just made people more curious to see the film whenever it came out. It was just like big success.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That type of thing happens, right? So, yeah, I don't know, the social media thing. Like, I think that it was, before social media, it was much more about who's going to put themselves out there versus
If you were.
if you were. Yeah. You have to now. I have no option. You know, if you want to be an entertainer, if you want to be a performer, you have no option, right? To put yourself out there, to put yourself onto the social media landscape and to try and get that part of your repertoire rolling.
Sure, but how much feedback plays a actual role on that?
Zero. I would
For you.
For me personally, zero. Like whether people, it's nice when people comment and say cool things. I mean, there's not a lot of that right now, but there's a little bit of it. I would love more feedback because
So
that
it's
would
not
give me more
zero.
things to talk about. Sorry?
So it's not zero.
Yeah, I guess it's not zero. I mean, I would personally use it as kind of fuel for something like this, right? I mean, this is a different medium than, like, I can immediately go and lash back at people if I needed to, versus, you know, a movie. Like, if you put a movie out and you put 1.5 years of work into a movie and then it comes out and people hate it, like, there's nothing you can really do about it at that point.
Sure.
You know? Yeah, I think that, like, the landscape of art before, like my type of favorite sort of heyday would be like in the 60s and 70s and stuff. Like, if I could go back in time, that's when I would like to live. In that type of heyday, again, it was like, are you putting yourself out there? Are you a band that's touring? Are you a filmmaker that's actually just making movies and putting them out there, putting them into festivals, showing them to people? Because that's how that stuff was born. Like, these are new art forms, you know? Like the last last 100 years. So we're still figuring out how all this stuff actually gets pushed to people,
Without being physically with them.
Right. So there's so much competition for that landscape, you know, through something like social media, because everybody, you know, like us, like, we think we can do this, right? And so we go and we have all the tech for relatively cheap, and we can put our shit online and hope that people listen to it. That wasn't a thing, you know, not even that long ago. If you wanted a radio show, you had to go and work at a radio station and try and work your way somehow in that business, small business of probably only like 10 or 12 people, to get on air. And then from
hopefully you were not working with Murdochs.
Right. And then to get on air.
Because to get on air.
Yeah. And then to get on air and maybe move up from, you know, shit station in wherever, Wyoming or whatever, and you want to try and get your way to New York, and you want to try to be like Howard Stern or something like that. Like, you had to actually go out and do it, and you had to actually go and move to these places where the work was, you know. I don't have to do that, but I'm not actually making money doing what I'm doing. I could do that, you know. Maybe the long-term goal is to do that. Maybe people actually, like, the hope with there's more of a hope, I guess, with the social media landscape of, like, if I just put it out there, maybe somebody will see it and give me an offer of something, versus me putting it out there and then going and being like, hey, check this out. Like, would you like me to come and do this for you because I do this? You know, there's not as much of that. Or maybe there is. I don't participate in it very much. That's another tough thing about, you know, putting yourself out there, right?
Right. Well,
yeah, maybe we can cut it there. It's been a pretty good chat, especially for only the dynamic duo, which I think is what I said. We were a good duo. Wasn't it duo?
No. It was tunding. We were tunding doing this.
It's not a word.
It is a word. You taught me.
I
this
know.
word.
We had this.
Were you reading a book that this word was written? And
No,
then
we've
taught
had this discussion before though, where we've forgotten what that word was, and then we remembered it pretty shortly afterwards. And but Tundon is not a.
Yeah, let's just cut this.
Yeah, we'll cut this out.
What we were talking
This has been the Slackline. Thanks anybody for listening. Check us out on Instagram at the.slack.line, on Twitter at slackline_radio, on YouTube at the Slackline Podcast. This has been the Slackline with JWoww.
Wow.
And the boss.
The boss is coming.
some made-up dumb fairy tale name, you.
And we will be back next week with the full version of the Slackline again.
Hey, thank you.
Have a good week, everybody.
Hold me tight. Don't let me run into the wicked night. I'll be gone by the morning light, searching for something to keep me right. Well, I'm a man on fire. Watch me burn so this heart don't reside. Well, I'm a man on fire. I gave her 2 hands and all my will. You wanted more of me still. You're ruthless, stone cold. I gave every inch of my soul. Well, I'm a man on fire. Watch me burn so this heart don't decide. Well, I'm a man on fire. Yes, I'm a man on fire.